Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Fresh Meat, IGN's most horrible show, horror-filled show, featuring yours truly, Tristan Ogilvy, and the lady that puts the gore into gorgeous.
You?
Lucy
That was
O'Brien.
awful.
That
Thank
was
you,
awful.
Tristan.
Bloody awful.
Bloody awful.
We are here this week. We decided we'd take a slight change of pace by talking about it. What's not strictly speaking a horror game, Mortal Kombat X, but it's definitely one that features quite a lot of blood and guts. In fact, probably the most extreme amount of blood and guts I've ever seen in a video game. Would you agree? In fact, we might just quickly cut to a little look at some of the highlights from the new game. Oh God, that was disgusting.
That was horrible.
I love it. With that in mind, and with the premise that, since the previous Mortal Kombat game, they've started introducing sort of film characters. Mortal Kombat, I think it was just called Mortal Kombat, right?
That's right, like a sort of reboot.
Featured Freddy Krueger. This one features the Predator, and so with that in mind, you brainstormed.
And Jason as well.
Jason, forgive me. Jason as well. With that in mind, you decided to brainstorm top 10 horror movie characters, mainly villains, not exclusively villains.
Not exclusively villains.
That you would like to see.
Well, that's it. I mean,
Mortal
there's a lot of room to include, horror heroes as well. So we've got some of those on the list. All right, starting from number 10, and keep in mind that I've tried to be a little bit eclectic with this list. I haven't gone for I hope I haven't gone for the most obvious choices. So with that in mind, starting from number 10, Regan from The Exorcist.
Not Ronald Reagan.
Not Ronald Reagan.
Not Rappin' Ronnie Reagan.
That would be weird. Regan from The Exorcist. Now, first of all, I mean, unlikely choice, but still, very, very threatening and terrifying, because she's in fact a demon-possessed little girl.
Yes.
Very speedy.
Yes.
Very speedy. She's got the spider walk.
Yep. She would wear a nightie.
Wears a nightie.
Which would be a first for the series.
It would be. She would projectile vomit attack.
That's what I would be afraid of, the projectile vomit. What about what sort of fatality would she have?
Well,
actually,
I think,
it would probably involve the crucifix.
I think.
Right?
Well, let's not go there.
We won't
but
go
I think her fatality would involve ultimately possessing someone and having them kill themselves.
Perfect.
Right?
Yes.
Also, I think that her starting banter would be amazing.
Definitely not safe for this program.
Definitely
or this
not
website.
safe for this show. All right, so number 9, Patrick Bateman.
Yes.
American Psycho.
I'm completely on board with this choice.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think about this choice? Because obviously, Mortal Kombat is still cartoon horror, so we don't want to go too dark.
I think we'd probably sort of lean towards movie Patrick Bateman, less towards novel Patrick Bateman.
Agreed. Very much agreed there.
That no country would classify that game. But yeah, Patrick Bateman would be an outstanding choice. I mean, his level would have Huey Lewis or Phil Collins music playing in the background, and the floor would be covered in just sheets of plastic.
And I really like the idea that he would just spout facts about 80s music until the opponent's head explodes.
Yes.
And maybe some sort of an attack involving business cards as well.
Like Gambit style.
Like almost like Gambit, yeah.
Yes, that would be awesome. And at the end of each round, when he wins, he'd excuse himself to go return some videotapes.
That's right.
Patrick, what is it? Where are you going? I've got to return some videotapes.
All right, counting down. Damien from The Omen. Now,
yes.
this is going to be, Damien is, at least in the original Omen, he grows up to be Sam Neill eventually. But in the original Omen, he's just a little boy. So you think, what's threatening about that? But he is also a very, very sort of ominous figure, because essentially he's the devil.
Yes.
And therefore he has this kind of psychic influence on anyone he sort of crosses his path with. So I really like, and this is kind of dark, but I do quite like the idea that if you're fighting Damien, there's a counter, this is terrible, but there's a counter that counts down, and basically once that counter is up, then the opponent eventually kills themselves in some really gory manner.
Between Regan and Damien, I get the sense that you really want to beat up children.
It's rough. I don't know what's wrong with my subconscious.
A discussion for later.
Discussion for later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think very interesting, sort of unlikely character there.
Absolutely.
Okay, next we have Ellen Ripley. Now this is from Alien, obviously a very, very clear-cut choice. A couple of like powers. Okay, she's got the flamethrower for starters.
Yep.
She also has the power loader.
Right. So would that be like an alternate costume, or is that something?
I think that would be like an alternate sort of power, that you could actually pull off. Like suddenly she would just duck out and then come back in a power loader and just like bam, bam. That's what the power loaders do. Bam, bam.
Good, pretty good impersonation.
But I also really like the idea. Let's cross Alien and Aliens. So I really like the idea that she has, like the new Mortal Kombat X characters, Farah and Tor. I like the idea that she has Newt to call upon, like almost as like a little
scramble up her back and
little scrambly little girl that sort of scratches at the opponent's eyes.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I suppose if you were. I mean, Ripley is an inspired choice, but you could also have a Xeno from the Aliens universe.
You could.
And then, I mean, yeah, the attacks would be obvious, sort of harpoon tail through the chest and all that kind of stuff. But then you could have Alien versus Predator.
Yeah, because it's never been done before.
Well, no, okay, all right, fair play. Let's move on.
All right, next we have Beetlejuice.
Excellent choice, excellent
I
choice.
just think it's a great choice because essentially he can do anything.
Yep.
One little glitch is the fact that you would have to say his name 3 times.
What, via Connect or?
Via Connect, you would have to say his name 3 times.
Yeah.
That's the only way in which you can call upon this particular enemy. But he can do anything. I like the idea that he comes like he can possess people, he can shrink people, and then he can turn into a giant carousel with hammer for hands. Hammers for hands, because he had 2 of them.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I guess Michael Keaton might be a little expensive now. He's had the comeback and the Oscar buzz and what have you. Yeah. We get a sound alike. Yeah. I can do Beetlejuice. I can do it like that. See, Warner Brothers are unavailable.
Sold. Sold. Okay, counting down. I think we're at the halfway mark, or maybe a little over. Leatherface.
Leatherface, of course, yes.
Now, like this, I mean, this is a slightly less creative choice. But it really, I mean, he is such a horror icon. I mean, he's as much a horror icon, I think, as Freddy or Jason or Mike Myers.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, he lacks the kind of, well, I mean, actually, Michael has no personality really other than he's a silent killing machine.
Completely blank mask.
Yeah.
He's got no personality.
But I just think that Leatherface is a good choice. He is a big tank-like character, takes a lot of damage, has a really badass chainsaw.
Yeah.
It's kind of a no-brainer.
It's a pretty easy sell.
And his finisher would be slicing someone in half.
Yeah.
And then chopping them up into little hamburgers.
And then cooking
and then eating them.
Yeah, okay.
That's genius. Okay, getting a little bit more modern here. Jigsaw from Saw.
Now, I'm not super familiar with all the Saw movies. I've seen the first one.
Who is?
And
really?
I love the acting of that Australian guy and Carrie, what's his
Carrie
face?
Hughes. Yeah.
Brilliant acting, but let's not talk about that. Maybe these characters could just bad act the other opponent to death.
Oh, it may be.
No, Jigsaw. So I know that he's a specialist with traps. A lot of traps, houses full of traps and things like that. So I guess his attacks could. Well, they would have to be trap based.
They would be trap based. I like the idea of him bringing like these sort of neat tricks and traps where essentially he could trap his opponent in place, causing sort of damage over time.
Right. Yeah.
Where he could just, go in. Yeah, he is actually quite a weak old man in reality,
dying?
and he's dying. So
he's always dying in every fight.
He is somewhat he is always dying, but he's just got this arsenal of like insane traps.
Yeah. Well, we're all always dying.
It's true. Every second, we're dying right now.
On camera.
On camera.
Sure, yes.
But yeah, I also think that his fatalities in particular would be outrageous.
Yes.
So just big, gory, bloody people chopping off their own heads. Crazy. I mean,
you like the bear trap?
Drowning in a sea of needles and vomit. It'd be great. Okay, number 3, The Thing. from
John Carpenter's
classic film. Now, the discussion here is what would the thing sort of look like from a starting point?
Yeah.
Initially. So I quite like the idea of like he starts out as a copy of a Tarkatan, like he's got like blade arms like Baraka, and he's just kind of like that's his starting point. But essentially he is able to turn into a deranged version of his opponent.
Yep. Well,
I just love that.
Yeah. I mean,
you know, and it's like he's like a stronger, more disgusting version of his opponent.
Yeah, so not a carbon copy, Shang Tsung style.
Yeah.
Yeah, festering.
But festering
kind of
and
unhinged.
like neck, like really long neck.
Yeah.
Strange, bulging eyes. Cool. Okay, now I just, you know, number 2, like we're getting to the end here. Now this, I mean, not necessarily a horror icon, but certainly an icon. Peter Venkman from Ghostbusters.
That is a slight curveball, but I like it.
Slight curveball.
Yeah.
He can call upon Slimer, of course. So we're going to Ghostbusters, the series. Taking some liberties. Slimer, like, I like the idea that Slimer is his sidekick and can essentially blind his opponent with slime. Yeah.
I like the idea of him, or like one of his fatalities being, he holds up a card with the shape on one side, and his enemy, no matter what his opponent guesses, it's wrong, and then he just electrocutes them to death while some pretty girl looks on. That could be good.
It's genius. It's genius. Why hasn't this been done before?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's such a clever idea. All right, number 1. Now this shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone because basically this character, it doesn't make sense that this character hasn't been in a Mortal Kombat game already, I think.
Yeah.
Ash from the Evil Dead, who is the ultimate, I mean, he is the ultimate horror icon. Sure, he's a good guy, he's not one of the monsters, but he is such a badass.
Totally.
Obviously, he would have a chainsaw attack, boomstick attack, but he also, I like the idea that he can turn into Evil Ash.
Yes.
His evil copy from Army of Darkness.
Yes. I also like the idea of like one of his moves just being like to pummel the opponent with his chin. Because it's a blunt instrument, Bruce Campbell's chin, and I think it would hurt.
I think
especially
it would
get that X-ray effect, you know, seeing the damage that it's doing internally. That would be great.
I also really like the fact that sort of Ash's banter would be really on point. Because essentially all his one-liners feel like they were made for a video game anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Groovy.
So yeah, I think his starting sort of like jibes would be really, really, really entertaining.
I completely agree.
And who wouldn't want to see Ash versus like Patrick Bateman, or Ash versus Freddy, or Ash versus Predator?
Yeah.
I mean, it just makes sense.
I mean,
it just makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, there you have it, NetherRealm. Get the lawyers to sort it out. Good luck with that. Thank you very much, Lucy, for delivering that awesome top 10 list of your most wanted horror characters in Mortal Kombat. If you have ideas of which horror characters you'd love to see in the Mortal Kombat franchise, please let us know in the comments below. Otherwise, we'll see you next time for some more fresh meat. Bye.
Bye.
Get over here!